pochino. Maybe, eh? Nope. Nope. Vabbè. We're gonna do it. I'd like to stay. I will do it like this. I will come and move forward afterwards.
Now is the turn of an initiative, and the title of his presentation is La questione della dignità umana nel Capitalocene.
Grazie. Thank you. I will speak in English if it's okay for everyone.
It's okay.
Okay. So, I'm really honored to be here today, and I'm really honored also to come after my colleague because you already set the bar pretty high in terms of a critical awareness towards the doctrine of human rights, which is today more necessary than ever. And my paper was exactly about the issue of human dignity in the Capitalocene, and I'd like first of all to briefly describe Capitalocene introductively, what I mean for Capitalocene. Like everyone, I think, is accustomed with the concept of Anthropocene, and Capitalocene is a critical interpretation of this concept because essentially when we say we live in the Anthropocene, we're putting the blame of the changes in the structure of our planet to all human beings. When actually, for example, indigenous people from Amazonia, they have been living in symbiosis with nature and they haven't modified the structure of our planet. So Capitalocene is a reinterpretation of Anthropocene that puts the emphasis on the fact that what really modified our planet, leading us into a new geological era, are the logics of industrial capitalism and not just these abstract men, anthropos. So this said, we move forward. Little introduction. Sorry, thank you. This is confusing. Okay. So here, I didn't know that the panel was composed of people who were already, let's say, involved in the theme of human rights. So I prepared this very, very basic, technical, bit more technical hierarchy of the sources of law, starting from national laws and rules created by the parliament through democratic processes, most of the times, maybe. But yeah, the parliament, let's say, a representative organ. But that representative organ in most of democracy is binded by national constitutions, as most of my colleagues know, which is the higher layer of the sources of law. But what common people don't know, because, for example, in Italy, we know the Constitution, the Italian Constitution is also a really beautiful document. We know that the Constitution is at the top of our legal system, but what we are not really aware is that international treaties are even above in terms of hierarchy of sources of law towards our constitutions. So I'd like to put the, let's say, spotlight to this primacy of international treaties, at least formally, in determining what is right and just. So why do I want to emphasize this? Because International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights and International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights are the foundational documents, the foundational treaties of the international legal system of human rights. And they were adopted, as you can see, on the 16th of December 1966. But of course, in between, there have been 10 years in order for them to become actually strong in the different legal systems, to enter into force. And this 10 years period has, let's say, as you can see, has the quality of allowing different countries to create the different bureaucratic institutions in order to guarantee these treaties to be effective in their respective territories. So here I presented two maps. Now, first one is of the social, civil, and the economical, social, and civil rights. As you can see, all these countries, all the dark green countries have adopted with force of law this treaty about economic, social, and civil rights. This country, United States, is one that signed the treaty but didn't make it legally binding. So they don't want economic, social, and civil rights to be strong of the law. So this is curious. This is curious, I believe. Also, it's ideological. You can imagine, like we believe in capitalism. We don't want everything for everyone because you deserve. But I don't want to expand in these terms of ideology. Here, instead, International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights. Here, we can see a difference. Like United States, they say, yeah, we like civil and political rights. We believe in our freedoms. But China, for example, doesn't believe in the same. They are from a different cultural background. They have different beliefs. And they don't believe in adopting a legally binding, let's say, introduction of this treaty inside their system. So we can see that the biggest superpowers have taken these two different roles with the, let's say, main international treaties. Like I think it's interesting and thought-provoking. But my point is about human dignity. And in the preambles of both these covenants, we find this statement, recognizing that these rights derive from the inherent dignity of the human person. So, let's briefly recap. Human rights come from these covenants, and they are founded on the dignity of the human person. Okay, that's beautiful, that sounds great. Who doesn't think so? But there is a problem, the paradox of human dignity. So I think everyone who is accustomed with the legal system knows that the attitude of legal workers is to try to define as clearly as possible things, to identify concepts in a clear way. Then there is a lot of interpretation, there is hermeneutics all the time, but it's, let's say, a striving that the jurist endeavors to pursue, the clarity, the definition, not being vague. The problem is that the very concept that is the cornerstone, the source of human rights, is undefined, is the most undefined. So it's like the more we create a system in which we define, for example, what is a genocide? You know? Because if I don't define clearly what is a genocide, then I cannot point the finger towards someone who's committing something like that. So that's the necessity for definition and clarity. Okay, we strive for that, but the basic, the foundational concept at the top of the hierarchy of our legal international system is undefined. And many scholars have put the finger on this. And today, what I'd like to do first is to make a sort of fast historical account of the different conceptualizations of dignity. First of all, Judeo-Christian religious metaphysics. Human beings have inherent dignity because they are in the image and likeness of God. And, for example, this argument, this metaphysical argument, is also made by Buddhist people, for example, because there is a Buddha nature in each one of us. So there is this kind of metaphysical argument. Then in the Renaissance, Pico della Mirandola, he wrote this De Dignitate Hominis, this beautiful paper, in which he says, he arguments, well, human beings have dignity because they have the choice to elevate themselves or degrade themselves. And not even angels have this choice, because at the time, let's say Renaissance, but medieval influence, they were thinking in terms of these angel and extraterrestrial things. So angels have to just be angels. We instead can choose what we can be, and this brings, that's the source of dignity for us. And then enlightenment, reason as the source of human dignity. We are rational creatures, reasonable creatures, and the whole international legal system and, let's say, international relationships are predicated upon the idea that we can dialogue reasonably with each other. And that's the new source of dignity. But what happens then? Post-World War II, personalism, the dignity of the human person. That's what we are stuck with nowadays, at least on a legal philosophy level. Like, the inherent dignity of the human person is where we found a common ground of understanding after the horrors of World War II, even before World War I, and the genocide of Hebrews and gay people and Roms and Sinti perpetrated by the Nazis. So the thing is, what I'd like to, let's say, invite you to reflect upon is the fact that dignity has been moving as a definition, as a concept, from the common era, let's say, all the medieval times and these metaphysical religious foundation of dignity, to the Capitalocene through the death of God. Nietzsche, most of you will know, Nietzsche claimed God is dead and we have killed him. By saying this, Nietzsche was putting was pointing our attention towards the fact that these metaphysical religious systems of belief are not anymore pregnant, let's say pregnanti in Italian, like pregnant, not pregnant, but are not anymore really cogent, they don't have that appeal anymore in our societies, and we are left with a secularization of our societies, with a loss of spirituality, with a loss of the centrality of religion. And this is essentially the death of God. And what happens is, from these perspectives in which we are in his image and likeness, to we are reasonable creatures, therefore we have dignity, there is capitalism that shifts, let's say, shuffles the cards into this cultural development of dignity in this way, from essentialism, so from describing our dignity in terms of a human essence, of a human nature that could be defined in terms of religion or in terms of reason, we find ourselves defining our dignity constantly, every single day, due to the capitalistic infrastructures in which we live in, through our performance. In the sense that our inherent value is not anymore something that is grounded in something beyond what we do, that pertains to our essence, to our being. No, we have constantly to demonstrate our value to ourselves first, somehow. And we find this shift, at least I find this shift towards a more performative dignity, even if not formally, but substantially, for the simple fact that we are not capable of setting a foundation for human dignity yet. So why is it so urgent to establish a coherent metacultural ontology of human dignity? This is a question that I would like to gift you and at the same time to curse you with, because it's a burden somehow. My answer to this is the problem of dehumanization. Because if we don't define human dignity in a clear way, in a specific way, it's very easy to dehumanize others. And we have a clear example in Palestine and Israel. So historicism and the problem of dehumanization comes, let's say, into a bigger frame, at least for my point, which is the frame of technological development. And I think it's urgent, before I use the word urgent, it's urgent to define clearly in a metacultural way dignity, because history, in its movement dragged by technological development, can erase very easily our own sense of the inherent value of every human being. Think about AI. What's the inherent value of an artist, for example, after AI? It's a problem. Or think about biotechnologies. There could be very easily, due to the lack of an essentialistic understanding, an ontological understanding of the human dignity, a shift in which there are cyborgs, cyberhumans, which are biotechnologically empowered, who can claim themselves to have a higher dignity than other humans. And how can we say, no, you're not right to them? That's a problem. That's exactly the problem that I'd like to, to curse you with. So, at the same time, polycrisis. We live in an era of so many crises at the same time that are burdening and that are overwhelming. And we can say identity crisis, economical crisis, climate crisis. And I believe that we should leverage the concept of dignity once we establish an ontology of dignity exactly to face this crisis. And by leveraging, I mean, let's say any cultural engineer, someone who wants to change a culture, is in some way imperialistic, is in some way violent. Because if I come somewhere where there is already a culture and I say, okay, guys, you're wrong, you're making things in a bad manner, that's how things should be done, that doesn't sound nice. But dignity is already present, is already part of the international legal system. And it's not just a part, it's at the pinnacle of the international legal system, which is intrinsically cultural. So there is already a powerful tool for making things change, I believe, if we explore this concept in a new way. And I'd like to make a proposal about this exploration, starting from this image. The Earth, planet Earth. There is such a thing as the overview effect. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it, but is that phenomena, that psychological phenomena that happens in astronauts when they go in space and they look at the Earth from above, and there is this overwhelming sense of awe and wonder that just destroys them somehow. And I'd like to start from that because I believe that we get narrowed and narrowed and narrowed in our views more and more, but our legal system can really encode inside of itself and start and lay its foundations from something that is not self-referential. I'd like to make a step back here before going to this point, if I think we're still good on time. Because we're a bit more relaxed, right? Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm almost over anyways. But the thing is, what's the problem with human dignity and our frame of human dignity, in my opinion? I talked about personalism. We're stuck with personalism. It's self-referential, and it's like we have inherent value because we say so. And okay, but you can see any scholar in logic would cringe with this statement. And the self-referentiality is, let's say, the logical underlying structure of narcissistic, anthropocentric tendencies rooted in us as human beings. We cannot, it's very hard to break free from our anthropocentric perspective of reality. Immanuel Kant would say we can't at all. But I believe we can. I believe we can in a radically revolutionary way by putting the center of our attention and the cornerstone of a new reconceptualization of dignity on this sublime beauty of planet Earth, starting from this. And this, let's say, focus on the sublime beauty of planet Earth is something that I would claim to be objective, because it's something that if we ponder, if we contemplate the fact that the complexity of the Earth, the complexity of the living systems that shape our planet, we encounter ourselves with that feeling that Aristotle defined the beginning of philosophy, which is thauma. But thauma has a double meaning, terror and wonder. And I think that nowadays we should really focus on the wonder and make that wonder the most powerful weapon to re-enchant the world after we have disenchanted it. So the thing is, with planetary dignity, I would claim that if we defined the inherent value of our planet, and we agree on that, and I would really doubt that there is someone who would say, no, our planet has no value at all, has no inherent value. Like, that someone is nihilistic, essentially. And we need to just start as a cornerstone, in my opinion, defining this wonder, this sublime beauty of our planet, planetary dignity. And from that, enlarging the concept of dignity, which until today was bounded by personalism exclusively on the human person, but in a tautological way, in a self-referential way, which is ultimately empty of substance, and establish this planetary dignity to say, okay, we are in relationship with this sublime beauty. And we gain dignity out of this sublime beauty and this relationship. And we participate in this sublime beauty. We are constantly, if we decide to, participate and cultivate this sublime beauty. We can enrich the dignity of our planet. Even if it's already sublime, it's already beyond our capacity to really encapsulate it, because it's overwhelming and transcends, as the sublime of Kant, transcends the boundaries of our imagination. And I would really like to know your opinions and ideas about this. I left here these contacts, and I would warmly invite you to go on into this conversation if you're interested after this space for debate. So thank you very much. they'll kick us out.
¿Puedo hablar en castellano?
Seguro.
Vale, perfecto. Has hecho una diferenciación muy interesante sobre personalismo y esencialismo, si no voy mal.
Ujú.
Sí, bueno, la cuestión performativa y
Sí,
demás.
sí.
Está muy interesante lo que comentas, pero yo lo veo en parte conflictivo porque considero que tender al esencialismo de las cosas es una manera de intentar preguntarse por la raíz de un problema.
¿Por la?
Raíz, por lo que es la
Ah, la
base,
raíz, yes,
por
yes, yes.
lo que es la base del
Sí, sí,
problema.
sí, sí,
Entonces,
sí, sí.
de alguna manera tendría cierto sentido para, desde mi punto de vista, intentar buscar cuál es el punto en común de las cosas, sobre todo en un mundo precisamente capitalista, que lo que pretende es que veamos la realidad desde el más absoluto interés individualista, ¿no?
Ujú.
Y luego, por otra parte, el tema del personalismo, el concepto de persona, aparte de que tiene una raíz religiosa, yo, por ejemplo, lo utilizo mucho en mis investigaciones desde una perspectiva completamente pagana, pero sí que creo que es importante considerar, y creo que lo has hecho muy bien en ese sentido, que cuando hablamos de personas humanas. Porque si tenemos que intentar buscar la raíz o aquella parte que nos une a todos, precisamente con la última parte de tu presentación, que me parece verdaderamente interesante, y que además se relaciona directamente no solo con la filosofía práctica, sino con la filosofía de la ciencia directamente,
Seguro.
con el método científico, es esa necesidad de también preguntarnos acerca del sufrimiento de personas no humanas, dicho de otra manera. Entonces, esas dos apreciaciones me gustaría que las pudiéramos hablar de manera extendida porque me ha parecido fundamental lo que has comentado y la cuestión de la dignidad del mundo, o sea, el concepto de vincularnos nuevamente a la naturaleza, creo que es algo esencial que se ha perdido precisamente por el mundo capitalista en el que vivimos y que denota al final una falta de sensibilidad, no solo con el planeta, sino con nosotros mismos, en la relación que tenemos con los demás y con nuestro propio interior. Entonces, muy agradecida, la verdad que pensaba que tu presentación iba a ser de otro tipo y agradezco profundamente este tipo de charlas. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a ti, soy muy feliz que te ha gustado. 15 minutos. Yo tenía 15 minutos. Para esto invito a todos a hablar más. Posso parlarti in italiano? Magari capisci un pochino meglio. Or in English. Okay. So the thing is sensitivity. That's the key word. Because we have lost touch with reality. Like let's say the underlying problem here, which I haven't mentioned because it's too complicated instead, it's nihilism. Nihilismo. That's the underlying problem that I try to transcend through this. Because after the death of God, we're stuck with nihilism, with a sense of loss of touch with the meaning of things and with the value of things. And it's sensitivity. Reason cannot solve nihilism. It's stuck into nihilism. Only sensitivity and openness to the otherness, and here I really like Byung-Chul Han thought about the other and the loss of the category of the other in our societies, in our perspectives. By establishing this radical otherness, full of dignity, of the planet, it's kind of like a sort of, I would say, safety net from future losses of our category of the other, which would bring us into this nihilistic logic of self-referentiality and staying stuck into a self-destructive anthropocentric view in which my interests are more important than your dignity, ultimately, as the previous presentation highlighted. So I hope I gave you some extra further insights or so. Thank you so much. Certo. Anzi, grazie.
Condivido tutto l'approccio teorico di fondo e aggiungerei che il nichilismo ha diciamo, fatto sbocciare a livello planetario una volontà di potenza. Quindi Nietzsche, secondo me, è il riferimento giusto, ma accanto alla morte di Dio aggiungerei che nel nichilismo aggiungerei la volontà di potenza. È una volontà di potenza che non conosce limite. Quindi a livello di proposta, certo ha senso la proposta insomma, di Gaia come diciamo, fonte, sostegno di una bellezza da riscoprire. Temo però che il problema sia salvare l'uomo dopo la morte di Dio. Perché come qualcuno dice, no, morto Dio, morto anche l'uomo. E non sono sicuro che partendo da Gaia si arrivi all'obiettivo, cioè riscoprire la dignità umana e quindi impedire quei massacri che purtroppo stanno caratterizzando la contemporaneità. Ecco, diciamo sulla parte così teorica e di diagnosi, di analisi, sono molto d'accordo, non sono sicura che il rimedio sia quello corretto.
Allora, io sono d'accordissimo con te perché io non propongo un rimedio, nel senso che per me la situazione in cui viviamo è tragicamente irrimediabile, nel senso che non è che non si può fare proprio nulla, l'unica cosa che possiamo fare è stiamo perdendo 7-0, cerchiamo di non perdere 8-0 o cerchiamo almeno di fare un gol, il gol della bandiera. Questa almeno, ahimè, è la mia prospettiva ed è ciò con cui cerco di convivere. Cioè l'era della policrisi è esattamente questo dal mio punto di vista. E per questo si parla di salute mentale e per questo dobbiamo porre tutti la priorità sulla nostra salute mentale, perché è assediata e la nostra stessa dignità è assediata dalle logiche nichilistiche del Capitalocene. Per cui la questione per me, come diceva Heidegger, solo un Dio ci può salvare. E io non punto a porre un rimedio alle questioni del presente, ma colgo l'invito di Aldo Moro, che quando faceva il professore di filosofia del diritto diceva non pensate al domani, ma al dopodomani, siate indipendenti. E la mia idea è di fondare anche una filosofia dell'educazione, essenzialmente, ad una cittadinanza planetaria, per porre le condizioni per una civiltà planetaria. Cioè, è un processo che quasi sicuramente io non vedrò accadere, sarò già morto, però che, diciamo, è degno di essere perseguito, degno, non a caso, ma, ci tengo a dire questo, per fare il 7-1, 7-2, 7-3, anche, secondo me, il concetto di dignità è centrale e io ve lo propongo come un meme linguistico da rimescolare nel vostro linguaggio, perché nel momento in cui le logiche del Capitalocene ci travolgono e ci immergono nel nichilismo, dimentichiamo noi stessi della dignità. Cioè è una parola caduta quasi in disuso. E ricordarci di questa parola, è una parola potentissima, questo cercavo di dire, che è la parola più potente dal mio punto di vista che abbiamo a disposizione, non solo per noi ma anche per gli altri, perché quando viviamo radicati nella nostra dignità, con la consapevolezza di vivere radicati nella nostra dignità, con l'intenzione di vivere radicati nella nostra dignità, a quel punto emaniamo un'energia di dignità di cui godranno anche le persone intorno a noi e siamo parte della soluzione nei limiti delle nostre forze. Questa è un po' la posizione che io, da essere umano, da uomo che sono, adotto nella mia vita quotidianamente.
May I have a small question?
Absolutely. There is also this colleague here. I will be very brief anyways.
Yes, very brief. But the question is that you are talking about dignity. I agree totally with you. You have to define dignity. But in your small history of the definition of dignity, Kant is not appearing. And Kant, I think that he has one of the best definitions of dignity. And also connects with Capitalocene. And I read, it's from Metaphysics of Morals, and Kant says, in the realm of ends, everything has either a price or a dignity. Whatever has a price can be replaced by something else as its equivalent. On the other hand, whatever is above or price, and therefore admits of not equivalent, has dignity. I think that here, with Kant's definition of dignity, we have also another connection to confront with this Capitalocene that you have excellently explained. It was only that.
I love your direct quote. I was oblivious of that quote. I just thought about Kant's, let's say, directive of treat others never as means but always as ends. But
This is crucial.
yes, price and dignity. Yes.
But if you have a price, there is something that is equivalent.
Yes, and this exacerbates
Yes.
like this problem.
If there is no equivalent, it has dignity. And this you can connect Kant also with critiques of capitalism.
Absolutely.
For instance, Marx.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
it's possible.
Yes,
Yeah?
yes. I follow very well what you say, and thank you. I didn't mention Kant directly, but in the Enlightenment point that I mentioned,
This definition, I think that you know,
yes.
a key to understand this difference. Between what has a price and equivalent, and what has no equivalent is unique, has, if you want, singularity.
Yes,
Our
Kierkegaardian.
Our planet Earth is unique.
Absolutely.
You cannot find any equivalent.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for your remark. Can I listen to the colleague?
Yes,
Thank you.
quickly. So when you introduce the civic and politic rights, it's more what we could say in politics, the right. And when you talk about so there is, I will finish, the social and economic rights, it's more on the left.
Yes.
And only two great power in the world which don't share the same understanding of the world. But what you point to make some understanding, it's a world. What's a common world to each one of us, it's a world. It's a truth which blinds us every day. And when we are talking about sensitivity, you have that hunger of food. I like the picture you showed me. I like the same thing, but I recover it with how there is something very common to everyone under my feet, and not the one living, the one who lived, and the one who will live. And there is here a great point common, which allows a lot of diversity. But so I think you are really pointing in the right direction because everything is in science. More and more economists are saying economy is the only science who doesn't respect the law of physics. And the law of physics we can feel it. It's gravity. Things which bring us together. It's the gravity of Earth. We can suppress it. We are just atoms lost in the universe, and we can move as much as we want. We will go nowhere else than the trajectory, than the inner suit where we are. So it's image I'm using, but
It's powerful.
yes, it's very powerful. And what is making performance actually is money. But the one who are talking about money, saying, yeah, economy has maybe lost touch with ground.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
And for example, I will finish like
Yes.
this. It's like economic growth. It's like a
fantastic. I love this last point of yours.
I enjoyed it.
I'm happy, and thank you for your observations. I'll be very brief. I will just add one thing, which is the word tradition. Like, we think about tradition, like also you mentioned conservatives and progressists, you know? Tradition actually is essentially progressive because it's something that we, traditio, Romans, it's something that we give. It's the legacy that we give to others. And dignity is a legacy, is a cultural legacy. It's a legal and cultural legacy as a concept. And as you were saying, it unifies us with this planet, but also with our ancestors. And there is dignity, for example, in inquiring into what happened in ancient Rome. Or, again, inquiring into what are ants doing. For example, I just wanted to point towards how enriching for our experience, for our thought, for also our spirits, our souls, is to revindicate this word, dignity. That was essentially the purpose of my presentation.
Short question and short answer.
Absolutely.
Please.
I love the talk and I love the idea of dignity, introducing that as a concept. You mentioned like Earth as an experience of sublime. You also mentioned God as the spiritual is missing, the essential nature is now, inner value is now purely extrinsic, what we do and we're judged by that. What do you think about combining your material sublime with an ideal sublime as well? So you've got the ground beneath you, but you've got something above you as well. So taking God from the idea an unjustifiable belief, faith, what have you, and then instead taking God as ontological. So God is everything essentially. And there's recent work in philosophy of science or philosophy of consciousness that's arguing consciousness, Buddhist conception of consciousness as a foundation for reality. So there you can combine two sublimes.
I'll be very, very, very short. Materialistic view. We have to go along with the trends, in my opinion. We have to do a sort of aikido, utilizing the force of the opponent against him, because imperialism dominates. We talked about it before, and it was the underlying dominant trend, let's say, in the state of affairs for how much? We could say centuries, millennia, we could say. The thing is, Gaia, planet Earth, has this, I believe, conceptual, theoretical, immense advantage, immense power, which is it's immanent, yes, okay, the gravity, the planet, but it's transcendent at the same time, because none of us, unless we are astronauts, can perceive the planet as a distinct shape. It transcends our field of experience phenomenologically. So there is already a divine, or at least a spiritual element that is common and that is pacific, I would say. It's something that we can all agree upon, and at the same time, and this is another advantage, preserve our religious beliefs, because it's just rational. This planet is beautiful, and we can all agree upon it, and develop a sense of shared spirituality. And already there are documents, I'm done. The Charter of the Earth, for example, is already a non-legally binding document that has established exactly that. So there is already this kind of philosophy happening. So thank you so much, you all.